In 2013, a beauty therapist from England walked onto a stage and performed one song. Simon Cowell called her voice liquid gold. Amanda Holden cried. Within hours, the video was watched millions of times. Every major label seemed interested. She made it to the semi-finals. Then, she vanished. Not because of a scandal. Not because of failure. But because something else happened. Something nobody talks about. This is the story of how one of the most viral moments in British television history became one of the biggest mysteries in entertainment. It was April 2013 when Alice Fredenham stepped onto the Britain's Got Talent stage. She didn't look like a star. She looked like someone who'd accidentally wandered into the wrong room. At 28 years old, she was a beauty therapist from Harpenden, a quiet town in Hertfordshire. No manager. No record deal. No experience on television. Just a woman who loved classic jazz and decided to audition for a talent show. The judges didn't know what they were about to see. When Alice began singing My Funny Valentine, Frank Sinatra's timeless ballad, the entire studio fell silent. Not the kind of silence where people are uncomfortable. The kind where nobody dares to breathe. Her voice wasn't loud or showy. It was controlled, elegant, sultry. It was the voice of someone who'd been singing this song in private for years, perfecting every note, every pause, every emotion. Amanda Holden's eyes filled with tears. Not the fake television tears. Real ones. When the performance ended, she didn't just praise Alice. She said it was the most mesmerizing, sultry, and sexy performance she'd heard on the show. David Williams called her a goddess. Simon Cowell, the man known for his brutal honesty, said her voice sounded like liquid gold, and told her there was definitely a real place in the market for artists like her. For yes, standing ovation. The entire audience on their feet. Within hours, the video uploaded to YouTube. Within days, it had been viewed millions of times. People couldn't stop watching it. They replayed it, shared it, sent it to friends. Alice Fredenham's name started trending. Entertainment blogs called it one of the greatest additions in BGT history. Record labels were supposedly interested. Everything seemed set for her to become a star. But here's where the story gets strange. Before this moment, Alice had auditioned for The Voice UK, just 2 months earlier. And not a single coach turned around for her. To understand what happened, you have to understand who Alice was before the spotlight found her. She wasn't a trained performer. She didn't grow up in the music industry. She didn't have a famous family or connections. Alice Fredenham was a beauty therapist. She worked with clients, helping them look and feel better. It was steady work. It paid the bills. But somewhere inside her, there was something else, a deep love for music. Specifically, classic jazz standards from the 1940s and 1950s. Songs that most people her age didn't even listen to anymore. She loved Frank Sinatra, Ella Fitzgerald, Tony Bennett, the kind of music that requires real technique, real emotion, real understanding of what it means to sing a song that's been sung 1,000 times before. For years, she sang these songs in private. Not for audiences. Just for herself. Just because she loved them. Then she decided to try her luck on The Voice UK. The Voice is different from BGT. On The Voice, you don't have to be a trained dancer or a juggler or a comedian. On The Voice, it's purely about the voice. The coaches, Danny Odenig, Sir Tom Jones, will.i.am, and Jessie J, are all sitting with their backs to you. They can't see your face or your body language. They can only hear your voice. It's supposed to be the fairest test of pure vocal talent. Alice chose The Lady is a Tramp by Tony Bennett. Another classic jazz standard. She sang it beautifully by all accounts. But when the performance ended, the screens stayed dark. No coach pressed their button. Not one. All 4 of them had heard her sing, heard a genuine, trained, beautiful voice, and decided to pass. It was a rejection that must have felt crushing. Most people would have given up after that. Most people would have decided that maybe this wasn't for them. That maybe singing was just a hobby, not a career. That maybe the judges knew something she didn't. But Alice didn't quit. 2 months later, she decided to audition for Britain's Got Talent. And that's when everything exploded. The question everyone wants to know is, what was different? Why did BGT judges fall in love with her when the voice coaches had rejected her? Was Alice better that day? Did she perform differently? Or did something else entirely change the course of her life? The answer might surprise you. The internet works fast. By the next morning, Alice Fredenham's name was everywhere. Her audition clip was shared across social media platforms. People who didn't even watch BGT were suddenly watching a beauty therapist from Hertfordshire sing Frank Sinatra. The comments section filled up with people saying things like, "This is real talent," and "Why isn't she already famous?" and "Best audition I've ever seen." The video was replayed thousands of times. Then millions. It became one of the most revisited auditions in Britain's Got Talent history. Entertainment journalists started writing about her. Online forums debated why the voice coaches had rejected her when she was clearly so talented. Some people theorized that the voice's coaches simply didn't understand her style. Others suggested that BGT's format, where judges can see you, read your nervousness, connect with your story, somehow showcased her better than being judged by voice alone. The narrative was building. Alice Fredenham was the overlooked talent who'd finally been discovered. And with that discovery came opportunity. Record labels started paying attention. When you go viral in the entertainment industry, the doors open. Everyone wants to sign the next big thing. Everyone wants to be the person who discovered the viral sensation. Alice suddenly had leverage she didn't have before. People were interested. Real interest. The kind that comes with contracts and money and the promise of a recording career. She made it through the early rounds of BGT and was frequently mentioned as one of the season's standout vocalists. Judges praised her consistently. She seemed to be on a trajectory toward the final. Everything was setting up perfectly. This was supposed to be her moment. The voice had rejected her, but BGT had embraced her. Now she was going to be a star. She advanced to the semifinals. But something happened between that viral moment and the semifinals. Something shifted. When she performed "Cry Me a River" by Justin Timberlake in the semifinals, there was a slight mistake in her performance. Not a huge one, but enough that it was noticeable. Judges still praised her. Alicia Dixon called her voice seductive and beautiful, and encouraged her to believe in herself. Simon still saw potential. But the momentum had changed. The magic of that first audition, when everything felt spontaneous and real, seemed harder to recapture. And that's when the real story of Alice Fredenham began. Because what happened next wasn't about failure. It was about choice. Let's be clear about something. Alice Fredenham didn't disappear because she wasn't talented enough. She didn't fade away because the industry rejected her a second time. If anything, the opposite happened. The interest was there. The opportunities were real. After BGT, Alice had reached a point that most musicians never reach. She was famous. Not just locally famous. She was recognizable on a national scale in Britain. Entertainment executives were paying attention to her. There were conversations about recording contracts, about potential album deals, about what her debut single could be. This was the moment where a person with talent, a growing fan base, and industry interest is supposed to make their move. This is when careers are built. But here's what people on the outside don't understand about sudden fame. It's not just an opportunity. It's also a pressure cooker. When you go viral, you become a product. That's not cynicism, that's just how the entertainment industry works. Suddenly, you're not just a person who loves to sing. You're an asset. People have expectations for you. They have plans for you. Record labels want you to capitalize on your moment while it's hot. Management teams want to lock you into deals. The internet wants you to keep performing, keep posting, keep staying relevant. The momentum that made you famous can become a weight on your shoulders if you're not careful. Alice was facing a choice that many viral sensations don't even realize they have. She could lean into the fame. She could sign deals, release music, do the interview circuit, build a brand around being the BGT girl with the golden voice. That was the expected path. That's what most people in her position do. Or she could step back. But stepping back isn't simple when you've just had the biggest moment of your life. It's not easy to say no to opportunity. It's not natural to walk away from doors that are opening. It takes a certain kind of person to look at everything that's being offered and decide that maybe it's not what they actually want. Maybe the cost of achieving their dream is too high. In the weeks and months following her semi-final performance, Alice faced a decision that would define the rest of her story. And based on what happened next, it's clear that she made a very deliberate choice. A choice that shocked people who were expecting her to become a star. To understand what happened to Alice, you have to understand something about viral fame that most people don't talk about. It's exhausting. When you become famous overnight, you don't just get opportunities. You get pressure. You get judgment. You get strangers on the internet who feel like they own a piece of you because they watched your video. You get record labels calling, wanting to mold you into something marketable. You get managers and agents telling you what to do, what to wear, who to be. You get expected to capitalize on your moment immediately before the internet moves on to the next thing. For someone like Alice, a quiet, introverted beauty therapist who wasn't used to being in the public eye, that kind of pressure was probably overwhelming. There's another thing to consider, the gap between her two performances. On The Voice, the coaches didn't turn around. Then on BGT, for yes and a standing ovation. That kind of contradiction can do something to a person's confidence. It can make you wonder, which version of me is real? The one nobody wanted? Or the one everyone suddenly loves? Some people thrive on that kind of attention. They feed off it. They want more and more and more. They'll do whatever it takes to stay famous. But Alice didn't seem like that kind of person. Everything about her, the way she performed, the songs she chose, her demeanor on stage, suggested someone who valued authenticity over fame. Someone who sang because she loved the music, not because she loved the spotlight. And here's what nobody talks about. Sometimes the most talented people are also the most self-aware. They understand their own limits. They know what they can handle. Alice might have looked at the path ahead, the recording contracts, the promotional obligations, the constant need to stay relevant, and realized it wasn't what she actually wanted. Or maybe something else happened behind the scenes that we don't know about. Maybe there was a personal reason she stepped back. Maybe she made a choice about her life that had nothing to do with music at all. Maybe she decided that being a beauty therapist was actually fulfilling, and the stress of trying to build a music career wasn't worth it. The truth is, we don't know exactly what happened in Alice's mind during those crucial months after her semi-final performance. But we do know one thing with certainty: she made a choice. She decided not to chase the fame. She decided to disappear from the public eye. And that's when Alice Fredenham became a real mystery. As of 2026, more than a decade after her BGT audition, Alice Fredenham has largely vanished from public view. There are no major record releases. No album deals. No chart-topping singles. No sold-out concert tours. No reality TV appearances. No social media presence that's widely followed or documented. If you search for her online today, you'll find clips of that original BGT audition, repeated endlessly on YouTube channels dedicated to forgotten talent show stars and what happened to BGT contestants. You'll find people speculating about where she is and what she's doing, but you won't find much actual information about her current life. And that's the point. Alice chose silence over stardom. What we do know is this: she didn't completely disappear. She didn't move to another country or change her name or pretend BGT never happened. She simply reduced her public presence. She stepped out of the spotlight and returned to a quieter rhythm. Whether she continues to sing privately with friends at local venues in her home, nobody really knows. Whether music remains a part of her life or she moved on to other things entirely is a mystery that only Alice can answer. Some people speculate that she might perform at local events or venues that don't make national news. Some wonder if she still sings at all, or if the whole experience turned her off from music entirely. Others suggest that she simply wanted to live a normal life, away from the pressure and judgment that comes with being a public figure. Whatever the truth is, Alice has kept it private. This is actually rare in the entertainment industry. Most people who go viral want to stay visible. They want to keep the momentum going. They want to turn their 15 minutes of fame into something more permanent. But Alice seemed to want the opposite. She seemed to want her privacy back. And here's the thing that makes her story so compelling. In an era where everyone is constantly trying to be famous, constantly trying to build their personal brand, constantly trying to turn themselves into a product, Alice Fredenham chose to be nobody. But her choice to disappear actually reveals something much bigger. Something about the nature of talent, success, and what it really means to have a gift.